morning and welcome to iBrand Daybreak. I am Perpetua Fasomi Peter. I'm not alone. I've got the beautiful and delectable
Margaret Opera. Good morning and thank you for joining us on iBrand Daybreak this beautiful Thursday morning as we gradually wrap up the week and usher you into an amazing weekend. How are you? I am fine, Perpetual. It's fine. We all are fine in the studio and I'm sure you are fine too. So if you're at work, in traffic, on your way to work, at home, just sit back and relax and enjoy all we have for you this beautiful morning on iBrand Daybreak. So Perpetual, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
All right.
And as always, you're radiant. You know, I told myself, do you want to say this again? But I'm like, it's the truth.
Oh.
Should I stop? You're refrain from saying the truth.
Thank you so much, Perpetual. I appreciate your kind words all the time. I think I should pay more attention to your top this morning because it really looks beautiful.
Oh.
And it's, well...
Okay.
All right, then. So on the show today, we have an amazing lineup of events for you. From the news update, it's going to start very, very soon, to the paper review segment, reviewing some top stories on the national dailies this morning. And then the discussion segment is an interesting one you do not want to miss. Please stay close to your television set. Do not go anywhere. And of course, sports segment, the Nigerian match yesterday. I saw that match, Perpetual. Yeah, I saw that match.
I was scared. You know, initially the goal was not.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was. I mean, it was flagged initially.
Flagged, yeah.
Then later on, my husband shouted. I was like, "What is it? Is it my
No, you know. Well, people. Well, when it comes to the sports segment, we'll talk about that. I had a lot of things to say about. But I saw that match. It was an interesting one. And then we'll go to the social media boards and we'll wrap up the show with an amazing quote to set you into the weekend move this morning. So straight now we'll go into the news update. Perpetual.
All right, the news update for today will start from the home front. The Trade Union Congress will today, Thursday, take a position on the planned removal of the fuel subsidy by the federal government. The TUC Deputy Secretary Nuhu Doro disclosed to the media in Abuja on Wednesday that the Congress would hold a meeting over the subsidy issue. The federal government last year revealed plans to remove fuel subsidy even as governors lamented that the monthly amount spent on subsidy was affecting the revenue that should accrue to states from the federation account. However, Senate President Ahmad Lawan on Tuesday said the president told him that he did not order anyone to remove fuel subsidy.
And now the Senate on Wednesday removed the controversial direct primaries clause 84 in the electoral amendment bill to allow for other modes of primaries. The amendment followed a motion for it to be committed to the committee of the whole, which was sponsored by the Senate leader Yahaya Abdullahi. In his remark, the president of the Senate, Ahmad Lawat, said the amendment to the controversial clause is to allow Nigerians to enjoy their franchise without being hindered in democratic process participation.
Recall that President Muhammadu Buhari had signified withholding his assent to the Electoral Act. The rationale for withholding assent by the president borders on his observation in Clause 84, citing insecurity, the cost of conducting direct primaries, and infringement on the rights of Nigerians to participate in governance as reasons.
Party zoned the 2023 presidential ticket to Southeast. I told you before, I'm not a liar. It's only when the party zones it officially to the South. I told you before, the only two zones that have not been president, the Southeast and the Northeast. Once they zoned it to any one of them, I have the capacity and the capability. And I will roll and I'll rock like hurricane. I don't believe it.
And still moving on to other stories this morning. The House of Representatives has mandated its committees on Justice, Public Petition and Police Affairs to investigate the involvement of the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, and the crisis over the ownership of the land in Magodo GRA Phase 2, Lagos State. According to the resolution of the House at plenary on Wednesday, Malami and Baba are to be investigated over their alleged attempt to destabilize the peace of Lagos State, scuttle the ongoing settlement process, and enforce an illegality. The joint committee is to recommend the appropriate sanction for any officer found culpable in the legal enforcement and breakdown of law and order.
And then talking about AFCON 2022. Or 2021, President Muhammadu Buhari has charged the Super Eagles to sustain their winning streak on the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations AFCON. In a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, the president said his administration will continue to support all football organizations to use sports as a tool for building a better and more peaceful world. He commends the Super Eagles of Nigerians for keeping hope alive in the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations AFCON in Cameroon by winning all their group matches and advancing to the second round of the tournament in grand style. The president wishes the Super Eagles the very best, pledging that his administration would continue to support the efforts of international, regional and national football organizations to use sport as a tool to build a better and peaceful world, the statement reads.
And moving now to the Gambian economy, the Gambian president, Adama Barrow, on Wednesday pledged to work to jumpstart the economy and ensure broad-based development gains. He was sworn in for a second time 5-year in office. Barrow, 56, came to power in 2017 by unseating his autocratic predecessor Yahya Jammeh at the polls. He comfortably won re-election last month with 53% of the first-round vote. 2022 to 2027 is a period to press on for accelerated growth, expansion and advancement, he said. The focus now centers on economic development. Barrow had pledged as a candidate in 2016 to only serve 3 years if he was elected, but later went back on that commitment.
And finally, on the news update, the president of U.S., Joe Biden, and Congressional Democrats suffered twin legislative defeats late on Wednesday in their push to toughen voting rights protections in the run-ups to this November's midterm elections that will determine control of Congress in 2023. In back-to-back votes late on Wednesday, Senate Republicans blocked Democrats' move to advance the voting rights legislation towards passage. Republican Senator Mitt Romney told the media a group of senators plan to meet on Friday to discuss launching a bipartisan effort.
And of course, you're watching iBrand Daybreak. That's all on the news update at this moment. We'll go on a very quick time out, and when we return, we'll bring you the stories making the rounds on our national dailies for today. Stay with us. All right, now we'll bring you stories making the rounds on our national dailies this morning. I'll start with the Punch paper. The banner headline here reads, Senate bows to Buhari, includes consensus for party primaries. That's on page 2, and we have two riders to that story. The first being, Senate adds consensus to House of Reps direct, indirect primaries proposal. And the second rider, consensus will subvert popular will, antithetical to democratic principles, and that's according to civil society organizations. Checking more stories on the Punch paper this morning. Fuel subsidy. NEC considers reports today. TUC meets. ASCSN threatens shutdown. That's on page 2 also. And still more stories. PVCs have not expired. INEC counters Tinubu. PVCs have not expired. Well, that's on page 13 of the Punch paper today. Federal government to establish 18 modular refineries in oil-producing states. That talks about modular refineries. That's on page 17. Cooking gas demand surges over NLNG's 100% domestic supply. That's on page 17. I'll declare my presidential bid after APC convention, and that's coming from Bello. All right, that's on the Punch paper for today. And checking more stories. Man who confessed killing mother with stick, dumping body in bush, remanded. That's on page 7. 3 Ogun teachers beaten by hired thugs. Parents arrested. Okay, and federal government charges not worth defending. Kanu tells courts gets February date. Federal government charges not worth defending. Kanu tells courts gets February date. That's on page 7 also. And 3 more stories on the Punch paper this morning. Returning officer told me 2003 governorship results ready before election. And that's coming from Oshoba. It's on page 10. Another story here says Lagos domestic worker flees with 13.9 million naira cash. Jury 1 week after resumption. The cash and the jury 1 week after resumption. And finally, Reps order probe of Malami IG's involvement in Magodo Estate dispute.
And now to the Nigerian Tribune, the banner headline here says, Electoral Bill, Senate House bow to Buhari. But the writer says, widen scope of primaries, approve direct, indirect, consensus options for political parties. Amendment unanimously approved in Senate. Opposition kicks in House. House prioritize safety of democracy. That from the spokespersons in the stories are on the page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. Petrol pump price not increased to 302 naira per litre. That's from the presidency, and that's on page 25. Afenifere laments incentive kidnappings on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Reps probe IGP AGF's involvement in Magodo Estate invasion. That story is on page 12. And on page 2 says, 2 killed, 1 kidnapped during Enugu APC ward meeting. Bottom stream of the paper says, Lagos acquires new 2-speed trains, and rather says, Sanwo-Olu seals deal in the US, and that's on page 5. Now to the earpiece of the paper says, court orders federal government to pay Kano 1 billion naira. Tender apology overrides violation. That the writer says, as IPOB leader pleads not guilty to terrorism charges. This on the page 11. APC releases schedule for February convention. Writer says, as Abia women barricade secretariat, protests against imposition. That's on 14. Page 14. Fuel subsidy removal, I will clarify from relevant government agencies. That's from Lai Muhammad, and it's on page 2. Page 14 says, I will declare my intention to run after APC convention. That's from Bello. Wike orders local government chairman to destroy all illegal refinery sites in Rivers State. Page 16 has that story. And finally, on the back page, Affair on Thursdays, an editorial, the need for greater women's participation in politics. All of the stories and more you can have on the Nigerian Tribune paper.
And moving on to Daily Independent, the banner story here on the Daily Independent reads, National Assembly reamends Electoral Act Amendment Bill. We have 2 riders, first being Senate approves direct, indirect consensus for party primaries. House of Representatives adopts direct, indirect primaries. Now that's on Daily Independent. And moving away from that story, Tinubu's associates split over Osinbajo's alleged presidential bid. And we have a writer to that story. This says, I don't want anyone to create enmity between me and Tinubu. That's coming from Adeyeye. More stories, home invasion by military. Court orders federal government to pay Nnamdi Kanu 1 billion naira. And we have 2 riders to that story. Beg your pardon. Alleged terrorism. Kanu rearranged. Trial continues February 16. Another rider. 15 count charge. Watery. Baseless. Incurably defective. And that's coming from Ozekome. That's his lawyer. Okay, away from that story. Confusion as National Assembly. Ministers differ on removal of fuel subsidy. More stories. This is on page 6, and it reads, Security forces killed 1,400 civilians in 14 months in Southeast. That's coming from a rights group, page 6. And page 7, we have gunmen enforcing sit-at-home kill APC youth leader, another in Enugu. Still on page 7, National Rice Development Council to save Nigeria $2 billion yearly. And that's coming from the Senate. Finally, Lagos acquires 2 new Talgo trains. And that's all on the Daily Independent for today.
And now we'll go to Business Day paper. Firstly, there's a market monitor for the NGX, Bitcoin effects, and all of that business news you need to know. And that says, Naira to face, the banner headline here says, Naira to face pressure on low oil outputs, rising interest rates. And the next story after says, Business Day newspaper now 400 naira, okay? Nnamdi Kanu's federal government's poor compliance record raises doubts. That's on page 30. And on page 11 says, Standard Chartered predicts 10% Naira decline in 2022. Nigeria to struggle despite rise in oil price, and that's on page 2 of the Business Day paper. I beg your pardon.
All right, finally on the Nation paper this morning, governors tighten grip on APC ahead convention. And moving away from that banner headline, still on the Nation paper, EFCC quizzes AMCON MD over sold assets. That story is on the Nation paper, page 5. We have a rider, Kuru Defense Integrity. All right, Kanu's trial continues February 16 with a rider 1 billion naira damages for IPOB chief. Another story on page 5 reads, Tinubu clarifies position on PVC. Cards don't expire. Well, you'll get that on the Nation paper today. Lagos acquires 2 speed trains from US for city service. Reworks electoral bill. Senate House differ on consensus option. Okay, and that's all I have for you this morning on the Nation paper. And very quickly, we'll just look at some of the major stories that made headlines. For me, this particular one, the House and the Senate differing on consensus option. I've always known that the House had a mind of its own. You know, listening to Femi Gbajabiamila in that was last year in December, where he had this press conference and he had this press briefing, beg your pardon, and then he talks about the fact that they are going to do something about the direct primaries, maybe they're going to remove it and all of that. But then listening to him at the resumption of plenary, he was saying, he kept on, you know, emphasizing how important the direct primary was and all of that, and then he said, okay, irrespective of how important it is, we're going to see what we are going to do on all of that. And now hearing that the House of that's the House of Representatives, beg your pardon, did not approve consensus. I'm like, okay, so what's going to happen? We're looking forward to, I mean, the House, the upper chamber and lower chamber of the House, they have to harmonize. I mean, there should be an agreement. They're not going to present 2 different things to the president. So I'm just looking forward to what will happen, what will become of that particular bill. That's one. Then apart from that, I think there are other stories you probably would like to talk about.
It's like you mentioned, you had already mentioned the bill, and the other stories here. I'll pick from Business Day paper the part of it that says the prediction that the naira would decline again in 2022. So I'm looking at the possibility of averting that, because it's been predicted now. It's on the front page of Business Day paper. It's been predicted that there would be a decline of the naira in 2022. So we've seen declines, series of declines from time past, and now the thing is, the more this decline, are we looking at what's causing all of this? We understand the importation exportation part of it, but are we looking at ways to avoid the decline? Because it's been predicted, and of course Nigerians will always say that they go all and all to want to buy the dollar because they don't know what will happen. They know no matter how much the dollar falls, it's still going to rise above the naira. So is there a way? I'm looking at possible means for those involved, stakeholders, to come and say, since there's been predicted to be a decline, what can we do to make sure that even though it's on a decline, not to the barest minimum? If you look at the parallel market, every single time on the parallel market, you read news of the naira fell, it's almost hardly the naira gained. Maybe very few times, once in a while, but it's always fell.
But even the gain is insignificant.
It's insignificant, gained by 1 naira, something kobo or something kobo. So we're looking at ways to avert, let's say, avert evil. But nonetheless, it's better since it's been predicted and we are seeing these things. Now we talk about so many factors involved in the possible fall of the naira all the time. So I rather than complain or predict, which is okay, rather than that, I think the need to look at the reasons why all of these things are happening and
put measures that
right, and be proactive. So because we can't afford the naira falling. At a point, I don't want it to get to a point the naira seems valueless in a country where it used to have value. So I think that's one of the stories I want to pick.
Okay, you're done. Yeah, all right, there's this other one I would like to talk about the domestic staff. This is the second time I'm hearing this in the space of 1 month, where domestic staff will part. The other time it was a 14-year-old domestic staff parting with the employer's baby
child.
And here we're talking about how much? 13.9 million naira and jury. But then my question is, did this person come in with that mindset? Was it pre-planned?
In less than a week of being employed, right?
So I'm wondering, how did they get this particular domestic staff? Did they do due diligence? And even if they did, it's just crazy. When you look at all of these things, you wonder, you know, sometimes, especially if you have children, you have stuff, and you probably just need to, you know, just put some things in order. Then you're wondering, am I sure about the person I'm bringing in?
Well, of course, that's going to be the fear, especially for the domestic staff that's contact with the child of the employer. Now you look at the need for integrity within yourself. We had a guest, that was like 2 days ago, that's on Tuesday, he spoke about the fact that the people, now I want to liken this up to the government, the people we complain of bad governance. The people who are here now are the ones who will likely become...
The people make the government,
so
basically.
If you don't deal on yourself, work on yourself now, imagine this, less than a week of being employed, you're already absconding. What happens when you get to the seat of power? Of course, we already
There's
know.
a whole lot to really talk about, but I hope that with time, we would have another time to really talk about the issue of domestic staff. We're going to have a very quick time out, and when we return, we'll have a special and interesting conversation for you on the conversation segment. Stay with us, don't go anywhere. The Lagos State Government and transportation stakeholders in the state on Tuesday signed an agreement and officially unveiled the Consolidated Informal Transport Sector Levy. And this is to harmonize dues collected by the government from commercial motorists at parks and garages across the state. This is expected to ensure that once a transporter pays the 800 naira at a point, he or she is expected not to pay at any other park or bus stop throughout the day. The levy is, however, different from the normal statutory dues collected by unions. Well, today we have with us, joining us via an audio conversation, our guest, Shola Omolayo. He's a public affairs analyst, and we'll be having this conversation today. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning to everyone at the station.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the show this morning.
Okay, sir. First, I'd like to start with the very beginning. When you saw this news, what was your reaction to it?
Well, I just want to believe it's one of the discussion or talk that government officials will always put out there, just to test the ground if things will work the way they think it should be. But for me, I don't see it coming to that effect. If it's going to be, maybe it's going to be another hardship for some of these drivers that run transport.
All right. We saw the story, and it broke, and reactions have been coming up from Nigerians on social media, also talking about the fact that when these levies are being paid, a transporter is not expected to, he or she is not expected to pay any other due at any park or garage. Now, the big question in the lips of every Nigerian is, how possible, how feasible is this? Because we see in parks, you have these transporters pay different monies, 50 naira, 100 naira, 200 naira to different people at different points for a trip of, like, for instance, 300 naira, you're paying 50 naira here. In less than 2 minutes, the next stop, you're paying 100 naira, and you're seeing, so all of this thing, how possible, have there been measures put in place to make sure that this rule of when you pay 800 naira, you're not going to pay in any other park? Because we know those people, we know how, let's say, how they can be when it comes to monies. You can't really fight them except you want to stay there all day. So the measures put in place, and how feasible do you think that rule is going to be?
Well, let's analyze this fact that Nigerians are not even paying attention to some of these things. Maybe you're just privileged to stumble on some of the details on social media. Nigerians are not even noticing it. Even negotiations are not even discussing it as said. Some of the drivers might just feel, some of the vehicles owner or the driver that you might think is reacting are just people. It's not that they really mean it or have the time to fight for it. And talking of the pronouncement, I don't think it's been backed by any law. It's just a statement that it's been made by one of the government officials, either be the commissioner or any of their agency in the system, using the office of the governor to make this pronouncement. It's not backed by law, so it can't be that effective. And any individual, some of these, will go to court and fight it out. And I don't say it's going to work. It's not workable. Just that it might become another hardship to some of these business owner in the area of transport. That's all I can say.
Okay, this is.
I don't see any big deal. It's not even being celebrated as a social discussion like you will say. All I will say, if the government pushing their force, they will just add more hardship, because the National Road Transport Workers official have their teeth tight to the turn of this transport sector in Lagos State.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Hello, sir.
I don't see any government that can challenge that or withdraw them. You know how much they are making on Marua alone.
All right.
On Marua alone, if you investigate, you will discover they are making about 1,900 naira a day.
All right.
And you want to put that to the wall?
All right, sir.
Okay, sir, could you please stay on standby, sir? We're going to a very quick break, and when we return, the conversation continues. Thank you so much, sir, for your thoughts. Definitely, we're still with you. Okay, we're going to break now, and when we return, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us. All right, we're still on the conversation for today, talking about the newly introduced 800 Naira levy by the state government. Well, we're in conversation with our guest, Mr. Shola, and he has said a lot of things about, for him, he believes this will not hold water, this is not going to work. And he said something about it just being an announcement or a pronouncement. So I would like you to probably speak more on that. When you say it's just an announcement, are you trying to say that the fact that it was announced by the commissioner probably means that it is not a legal announcement, or it's not a law that would probably stand by?
That's what I know, because I don't see when it was brought to the House for discussion, where all stakeholders will be there to attend to some of the requests of the government on how to analyze the issue of taxes in Lagos State, because one of the tax that you're going to be putting up. And if you're going to do that, it is expected that it should be backed by law, and I don't see that coming up. If it's squeezed in, if that is squeezed in, it's just another way of shocking the people. And when you add 800 naira to what this transporter are already in tune to, it then means the people will suffer for it. And you're going to hear a lot of noise again that they are trying to come up with a fee to sponsor this coming election.
All right.
That's going to be general knowledge of the society in Lagos State, the people.
All right, Mr. Shola, you mentioned that the people would suffer. And now we've already had complaints and people talking about before now of how these levies are collected, the government trying to generate revenue. But the big question is still, who are those persons or group of people that all of these revenues or that these monies are going to? We understand that they have unions and there's a need for unions to collect levies, but then when the levies are becoming outrageous and it's beginning to have a ripple effect on the transport users, yes, the price of transportations will obviously increase, because you don't expect a transporter to pay some amount of money and still maintain the same price fare for a particular destination. We see the ripple effects on the transporters themselves. And now, where are these monies going to? What do they do with it? Is there really a need for the exorbitant fees, so to say, or outrageous? The levies are almost increased, like, okay, yeah, increased all the time. So the passage, he's laughing, right? So the passage of all of these monies, I think that's the problem. If they are collected, and of course you are seeing what they are using it to do, or you know the means or the channel it's going to be a different ballgame altogether. So what do you think about those statements?
When you ask this question, I just believe this question is just for media chat.
Okay, no, it's not for media chat.
It's an eye-opener to everyone in the streets of Lagos. You understand, those who collect this money, they call it local government fee, this one fee, and some other fee I don't want to mention. Not to seem as if we're insulting some of the institutions in the system. See, who collects this money? The National Road Transport Workers Association. You know them. You know their chairman in Lagos State. And you know that the process of collecting this money is an eyesore. Early in the morning, you see some people jogging around, 5:30, 6 o'clock, giving tickets to people, and nobody's challenging these guys. They embarrass you, who is even the customer to this vehicle. They delay you and I. So, where do you want, see, I just want to believe that this is another Baba's way of obtaining, maybe the amount of money that is expected from the return that is expected from this national union guys are not, they don't get the quantum. They now felt, okay, we can raise up our own agency, we can raise up another means of channel where a specific amount that is noted and being atomized to get from these people that, okay, what we're going to add to this stuff is 800 naira. He said that you reduce your own, we bring in our own, so that we'll know that at the end of the month, this is what is expected from these guys.
Okay,
Because
Mr.
who's gonna
Sholak,
collect
let me
this
butt in here, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're listening to that particular report. They were talking about the fact that they are trying to harmonize all the collections. They are saying that.
Hear what you are saying? They are trying to. You know,
Sir, let me
this is
continue,
not
sir. Let me
like-
continue, sir. I'm getting somewhere, sir.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, and then according to the report, you're made to understand that this includes the personal income tax. This also has something to do with the something about the environment protection, and about they talked about 3 different things that they're trying to bring together to ensure that there is just one collection at once. That's on the part of the government. Now we know that on the part of the unions, they are saying that apart from this 800 naira that the government wants to collect, that it's different from their own union dues. Now, the question what I am interested in now is when you say this is a harmonized levy, are they trying to tell us that those other monies that are being collected will stop being collected and we just have that particular tickets which they said they have raised? So when you get that 800 naira, that's all. And then when Musinio Akinsoya was speaking, he said that they would still continue to collect their own dues or their own levies. So that levy, what exactly is it supposed to be? Will that levy also be collected on the roads, or as a member of a union? I mean, you're part of a union. You can always pay your levy transfer. Do you understand? Yes, you can always maybe transfer the money to the union account or something. That's what I'm looking at. If we're having the government saying we're harmonizing things, and then we have the union saying, you know what, you still pay levies. So I want us to understand that that part.
You see, you have been a parallel order here. The government just spoke in a day, and few hours to that statement, somebody else made the statement. So what are we saying here? When an authority that ought to oversee the life of the citizen make a pronouncement, and you find another unit of the system making another statement, it's like contradicting what the headship is saying here.
And so what should happen now?
Of the government. No, you just said it, that he said the government has their own bill. Their bill still stands. So who is in charge? Who is in charge? It is obvious that these guys are strong. Yes, I'm not saying they are stronger than the government, but you can't, they've been so rooted that you can't not challenge them. That's what they're telling you.
Okay, sir, speaking to the issue now.
I told you earlier on that government might just be looking for a way out of raising fund on news of certain things. I'm not against all of that. But let me ask you, the taxes you pay, what are they for? Is it not just for this same thing? Why are the local government officials taxing marketers? The revenue derived in those areas, what is it for? Is it not for maintenance of streets that you involve an agency of Lomato? What is the work of the PSP?
All right.
Why are we twisting law?
All right, sir, as we wrap up now, what are the impacts of all of these things on commuters? Well, I've already mentioned one of the fact that, of course, there will be increase in transport fares, and it's a ripple. Knowing there's an increase in transport fares, it goes around every other thing, every other commodity. So what are some of the impacts on commuters you think this would cause?
You know what I want to say?
Okay, go on.
Okay. You go nursery school, me I no go nursery school. So I will speak the language you will understand. But I venture somebody might help you out there. This is a game of dead body break bone. Now double Allah for dead body and the owner of dead body. Do you understand?
Okay, maybe you should elaborate more quickly because we are almost out of time.
Yes. Confusion don't break bone. Everything does scatter. In the next couple of days, we shall see. The government says that by the 1st of February, this pronouncement, which I think is never a law, this pronouncement will come to effect. We shall see the drama. If the people are going to, because once you include that amount of money, the transport fare will go up, and as we consume everything, let's see how the consumer, who are the people who patronize this system, will be able to cope. You and I are going to be involved.
Okay, Okay, thank you so much, sir. Just before you go, you were saying something about the election. I know that on the street, some persons are saying that this is a ploy to raise money for the election year. Is that a thought you also share?
As you know, in Nigeria, we think anything, you might not see everything, but that's what I think.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us on the show today. God bless you too.
Thank you. God bless you too.
All right, that's a very good one, an interesting conversation, I must say. Well, Nigerians are definitely waiting for this. We want to see the end of this. February 1 is around the corner. Very soon we'll know what will be. Okay, now coming up after now is a sports update with Samson Oloyede. Stay with us. welcome back. We have with us Samson Oloyede with a sports update. Hello, Samson. Good morning.
Good morning. Samson. Okay, I'm waiting for you. Sports, go on.
Yeah, we are interested. We are hyped.
Now, finally,
We are hyped.
you guys got to watch the Super
I'm
Eagles
waiting
play,
for you.
right?
You're not going to ask us any questions. I'm waiting for your sport update before I say
Well,
anything.
let's start from home. Charity begins
Yeah.
at home, right?
Okay.
So the Super Eagles of Nigeria took on Guinea-Bissau in the last match of the group stage, talking about the 33rd edition of the African Cup of Nations. And it was a 2-0 victory for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, with Trust Ekong scoring the second goal, while Sadiq Umar scored the first goal for the Super Eagles. Despite the changes Austin Eguavoen wrong regards the starting 11, the Super Eagles topped the group with 9 points and are into the second round. More importantly is the fact that you had new players, French players also have some minutes under their belt, and Moses Simon once again proving that he's the player to watch out for in the Super Eagles squad. So there you have it, talking about the Super Eagles and making it into the round of 16. There's a fact we need to understand, which is that Austin Eguavoen is the first Nigerian coach to win all 3 group stage matches at the African Cup of Nations. He did that at the 2006 edition, and he also made it happen again at this year's edition of the African Cup of Nations. And when you consider the teams he has defeated within that time frame, you have the likes of Egypt, Senegal, as well as Ghana in the mix. So it's a great one for the Super Eagles and Austin Eguavoen, who has made record as the only Nigerian coach to win the group stage matches of the African Cup of Nations twice. So it's good news for most Super Eagles faithfuls. Now, moving away from there now to the world of basketball, the Lakers lost once again, this time around to the Indiana Pacers, 111 to 104. The points that ended just a few minutes ago. And more importantly is that LeBron James had a historic night as he became the first player to register at least 30,000 points, 10,000 career rebounds, and 9,000 assists. In the history of NBA, no player has achieved that. So it just shows you the milestone and the great career, the greatness that LeBron James has at this point in time. He scored 30 points on the night, but it was not enough to rescue the Lakers from conceding another defeat. They've slumped to a 22 win and 23 losses start to the season and are still tied 8th, talking about the Western Conference playoff race. It is a spot that will guarantee them a place at the playoffs, but it's not good enough for them, having missed out on Carmelo Anthony and Anthony Davis, who were both injured for the affair. But let's see how it goes. LeBron James keeps turning up the numbers in terms of MVP greatness.
All right. Okay, I'm not really interested. All right. Yeah, of course, it's an amazing story. LeBron James, yeah amazing guy. No, really amazing guy. I'll give him that. But talking about the Super Eagles match,
I was surprised. Initially, I wasn't interested. I was like, duh, every do other things. But then my husband says Sadiq scored. I said, what?
What interesting?
The quarter system player.
Everyone, where I was viewing the match, everyone was coming about what is Sadiq? Because he missed like 3 opportunities. Four chances. And then when at the end, he scored. Okay, now someone else said it was a free ball that they kicked towards him and he just kicked it. But anyhow he put it, the rejected stone became the chief cornerstone. And then the second goal, did you see what's his name? Was it Moses?
Oh, Moses.
Did you see what he did there? Like, he literally played with the minds of those people, and then he went still to the legs of Ekong. And I was amazed. And then I was like, they were shouting, Sadiq, Nigerians, after they have abused him, when he scored the goal, they started clapping for him, and there was a clap.
They still abused him. Even me, I still abused him.
But then the Super Eagles did an amazing job for the first time. No, not for the first time. For
the second time.
I was proud of them.
Well, under General, we had issues with so many things.
We had what?
We had issues with so many things, from transitional plays to even the right setup in terms of player selection. There were so many challenges, but having said all of that, you also have to realize that Austin Eguavoen has run few changes here and there. More importantly, he's made us stable, defensively. We've considered just a goal at this year's African Cup of Nations. It was from it was not from open play; it was from the spot. So generally, we have some sort of defensive stability now under Eguavoen, unlike we saw under General, where we could be 4 goals up, still concede 4 goals, even at home. or lose at home to Central African Republic. You know, very funny teams. This
No,
time around, I
That's
think
okay.
there's
I
a
think
bit
we
of
just have
momentum
to.
going forward.
I think.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Well,
you
very
so much.
quickly, Samson, this is something you're going to like, the social media buzz. Yes, we're having a social media buzz, and this reads, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to tell you, bae, it is pure waste of money if you go for a massage and you keep your fat in. You are getting massage to relax tension, and you're all uptight holding the fat in. For what? I pity you, Sha, if the fat is from beans and vegetable. Okay, and we have reactions to that one. This is Aerial Health and Fitness saying that beans porridge and ugu leaves combo is extraordinary, is yoku. All I was praying was, let the carbon monoxide not go and mix with the candle light that was on and cause explosion.
What a thought.
You can imagine. It was powerful, Ezioku. Me, I just acted like I fell asleep. Afterwards, she tapped me. Doctor, I am done. I shamelessly yawned as a messy sleeping beauty.
Imagine that.
I don't like it when people fart and it smells. I hate
Well,
it.
fat is a natural thing, you know.
Yeah, I feel you should always excuse yourself. I call it indiscriminate farting. If you want to fart, at least go somewhere, go do it and come back.
Really, is there okay? Someone would say, is there a toilet for farting? Yeah, okay.
Just go somewhere.
Farting
Because
statement.
at the end of the day, I'm going to come on.
Oh
it's
yeah.
the smell.
Especially if you're in the public, you shouldn't do that in
Yeah.
public.
Definitely.
And then we have Mike DK saying, it can't be me. I won't pay for a massage and not be relaxed. I will use up my money well.
But the person who is massaging you is a human being. You
Oh.
shouldn't inhale
I
what will
think-
kill.
There's a place of courtesy, you know.
Yeah.
Whoever is receiving the massage should understand that the masseuse is also, you know, human, and that way it comes out as of being offensive.
Yes.
So when you feel that there's a need for you to fart,
You can always say
you
it.
can always just, you know, get off the table and just ease out a bit. I think it's just common decency, really.
Definitely. Thank you for your thoughts.
Thank
I think
you.
that's
Something.
all about that.
Yeah. I think someone was saying I pity for the massager, whether the masseuse, but I'll use the word, and the massagee. Oh wow, interesting. Well,
I like
atomic bomb will just be flying here and there, and you'll be recycling in the room.
I feel like talking about different types of
going to
farts.
go
Some
there.
farts are noisy, but they don't have effect.
Well, but-
Really?
yeah, but even you in the room, you're even inhaling something you don't even need, so you don't even need to do that. Well, I think that's where
You know, the truth is, people find several things offensive. For some people, a very strong cologne could come off as offensive.
That's interesting.
And you never can
That's
tell
true.
those who have issues with respiratory concerns in terms of
All
medical
right.
health issues. So generally, you just have to respect the other person. And
Definitely.
Okay.
yourself. So
Definitely.
all right. Thank you so much, Samson.
thank you for having me.
It's been an amazing show, right, Perpetua?
Definitely.
All right, as usual, we'd like to wrap up the show with a quote, and this quote is an interesting one. It's from Walter Anderson. It says, it's only when we take chances when our lives improve. The initial and most difficult risks that we need to take is to become honest. I'll take that again. It's only when we take chances our lives improve. The initial and most difficult risks that we need to take is to become honest. Talking about honesty, honesty is a tool, one of the tools for success. We read the story of an employer absconding with money, an employer absconding with the employer's child. Come on, honesty is for yourself, not even for the next person. So become honest and your life would improve. So thanks so much for joining us. Please do well to join us tomorrow again. It's Friday, and trust me, the segments are going to be amazing. 8 a.m. is the time. iBrandTV is the place, and my name is Margaret Opara. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye for now. I am Perpetua Fasomipita.
Have a wonderful day. I'm Samson Olede.